Hi everyone, this is Henry Cobb again, and I have some tips here that I've learned along the way of using Roll20 to GM for the fantasy trip. And especially here, I had a scenario I was going to be running in a convention, so I wanted everything to be set up ahead of time and it would run smoothly. As you can see, I've got a free account on Roll20, so you don't need to spend any money at all if you want to get started on this, though I guess they do appreciate it if you do add them in. So in the settings here, you select the character sheet template for the fantasy trip. This has been considerably improved recently. It's still lots of things I don't understand, but maybe I will eventually get it right. Alright, and if we launch it here, we can take a look at the setup that I made here for this particular scenario. Now you see I have a printed map here that's generated by the Shamat tool, and I'll give a link to that in the description of this video. And then what I've done is I've carefully laid this over. If you can look very closely, you can see how the lines line up here for the map and the hex grid. And this is, if you go here in the settings for this particular map, you have grid on, hex horizontal, and that will line them up here with this grid, with the grid where the tops of the hexes are straight east to west. If the sides of the hexes are north-south, then you'd use the other, the hex vertical. So what I'm doing here is the hex horizontal, I mean where the straight edges lie. All right. And then it's what you do is use you go here in the map and background level, and then you select the map, and then use the Alt key as you drag it. So you very carefully you line up one corner, and then you very carefully drag down here the other corner. And I'm probably off by a little bit. Yeah, you see there's some places here where I'm a little off here at the very edges of it. But you do your best, and here, maybe I can adjust this a little bit better, but we shall see. I go and select that, and then using the Alt key here, and try and very carefully drag that over. Yeah, you probably do it one edge at a time. Yeah. And then you go and you check the opposite edge to make sure you didn't knock that off. And at the bottom. And one of the things I'm using here a lot on this particular one is I'm using the GM token info. I'm using the GM layer to set up a bunch of things like spiders and rats. And so I've got them here at the designated spots. And so when people say, oh, I'm just going to dash here to the center of the map, you say, oh, wait, nope, there's a snake. And let's do that little hand-to-hand thing. And when you do that, what you do is you say layer here, and you pop it up. You just here. When you're actually working in the objects and token layer in the GM, you can still come here. Nope, you can't. Oh, I thought I could. All right. Yeah, you have to go to the GM layer, and you say layer, bring it to the token layer, and then you go back here to the objects and tokens, and it's now manipulatable. As you can see, it'll pop here to the hex grid because I've lined that up. That means that rotations also snap to the grid if you like, sometimes. Alright, so the party ran in here, they gathered to get the treasure, and they dealt with some traps and insects and vermin such as orcs. And the orcs themselves ran into some of the traps and said, ooh, wait a second, what's going on here? And they had a bit of a difficulty with that. And so for a lot of, as you can see, my entire notes on these orcs are that they have a strength rating here that I put in the red. I do fatigue in green, and then hits in blue as a negative, and then I apply the modifiers here. This is the stun marker for taking 5 hits and being at a -2 on your next dex. The X here is that you took additional hits sufficient to take him down before the players ran away. So they dealt with the orcs that were immediately on the map, and the additional orcs came in. And I have these orcs here all set up at the GM level. So we go back here to the GM level, and I've got this guy here. He's got his strength marked out, and then when I bring him in, I just add him with his dex here, and that's basically all the record keeping I need, because I have all his equipment here in his little title bar. That it's obvious to the player characters when they see him. Oh yeah, this guy has got yeah. And go back here to remember. A lot of the time you got to remember. Oh, I'm in the wrong layer. You pop back to the right layer, and then you're able to manipulate things. So he's got a saber, which is the cutlass, which is a strength 10 item, and then he's got a medium shield, leather armor, and there I go. Come on. Let's see. I can select him over here. Oops, I did not add this guy in. All right. Well, we can just add turn here. And on that basis, let's see. All right, he'd be a 10-14, and then he's got 3 points down on his dex for his armor and shield. And then we can just sort him into place. And off he goes. So it's a matter of preparation. I've got all the baddies. I had all the baddies here lined up. I had all the traps and such as in one. And the nice thing is I had a map here that would all fit on. It's essentially a playmat where everything fits on one view, with the player characters all set up over here, also on the GM level. And I use Legos, of course, and so let's see. One of the ones that was not used, I went in and I set up all the talents and such ahead of time, so that when actual gameplay started, I could say, oh yeah, here's your character sheet, here's your position, let's get you started. And as you can see, the way you do this is, we're in GM overlay, yep. Yeah, I can just delete this guy. And what you do is you just drag on the character to the right, to the GM overlay, and then you can show the character sheet. Oh yeah, well, one of the things here that's very irritating about this is you have to say the show to player is there, and then on with the token, when you bring that into play, that you have the advanced, let's see, oh yeah, the gear here, and then it's this little thing here where you have to say C in order for them to see things like your nameplate. And that becomes a little thing that you need to look out for. So that's basically how I set up a scenario that would be a quick playthrough and fit within the 2-hour boundary that was loaded there on the convention. So this is the Temple of the Flower of Life, and I've handed it over, so perhaps we'll see it someday or not. And like I say, this has been Henry Cobb, and hope to see you again soon.